Hello and welcome. In today's video, we are going to talk about the obstacles of implementing Agile in Japan. If you don't know me, I'm Masha, I'm Enterprise Agile Coach, and I'm the founder of Agile Apothecary, and I've been living in Japan for the last 12 years. I've been working with Japanese clients a lot and with Japanese companies. If you're curious about Agile, about Japan, about working culture here, stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like. And let's get started. So, Japan. If you've been in the world of Agile for a while, you probably would know that a lot of concepts in Agile and in Lean as well are coming from Japan. Lean has started from Toyota, and a lot of things that we use in, a lot of words that we use in, such as Kanban, Kaizen, Shuhari, are coming from Japanese language. So you would assume that Agile is very popular, very widespread in Japan. After all, why Japanese companies are so successful, why the quality is so high, and what is going on here? It is true that in Japan, they know how to bring things to perfection. So this is why the products made here are famous in the world for the quality, but the processes in the companies, the efficiency is not that great, to be honest. And Agile is not really well known. Some companies are making the first steps towards Agile transformation. Of course, there are some startups that are working in a more and more Agile way, but the reality is that most companies here are still very conservative, very waterfallish. So let's look into the reasons why it is so. First of all is the confusion between output and outcome. In Japan, output's rewarded. So depending on how hard you work, how tired you look, you will get promoted, you will get rewarded, versus if you deliver certain value or you increase the efficiency, there is usually no particular reward for that. So people are rewarded for working really hard, not necessarily for delivering the results. And this is why it is very hard to switch the working culture in the companies towards the more customer-oriented, outcome-oriented approach, where we think about what we want to achieve, what is the goal that we want to achieve, rather than about ways to keep everyone busy and work really hard. Next obstacle is a culture of obedience. In Japan, you have to listen to your superiors. It is coming from the samurai culture, and people are not able to say anything when they're given orders. Establishing psychological safety and facilitating face-to-face open discussions is quite often challenging. And this is not just about the management and subordinate sort of relationship, because in Japan, people pay very close attention to everyone's age, to everyone's position in the company, and level of seniority in other aspects. So you would always know your place and how you rank against all the people around you, depending on where you are, at school, at work, in any unofficial kind of situation, you still would know who is higher than you and who is lower than you. It is not really good, not really socially acceptable to voice your opinions or question the opinions of people who are higher than you on the ranks. And it creates, of course, a lot of challenges when we want to have a cross-functional team collaborating and being equal, having this trust and psychological safety on the team. Of course, it is possible to overcome that, and I've seen quite a few examples of successful cross-functional teams with very flat hierarchical structure, but it takes time and it takes a lot of effort. Next is customer centricity. It does sound a little bit counterintuitive. It is a good thing, right? But in reality, in Japan, there is a proverb that says that the customer is a god. It means that the customers are supposed to be treated like gods. And of course they are. The service in Japan is unbelievable. It is probably the best service on the planet. But the problem is that when you treat someone like a god, you create some distance between yourself and them. You don't allow yourself to ask questions. You don't allow yourself to ask for their feedback, because this feedback is very scary. So People try to deliver the best possible value to the customers, but there is no dialogue happening there. There is no involvement of customer in the process, and that creates all sort of issues. Of course, again, this is possible to overcome, and I've seen great examples of that. But it takes some courage, it takes breaking some cultural barriers, and it takes time. Next problem is the rules. In Japan, there are a lot of rules. Every time something goes wrong, there is a new rule created around that. And don't even get me started on all the rules that still exist from ancient times and make no sense at all. Okay, let me just tell you about one rule very quickly. I don't know if you know it, but in Japan, if you have any tattoos, you're not supposed to visit the hot springs, the pools, and the gyms. And that comes from the old times where Yakuza, the Japanese mafia, used to have some sort of negotiations in the hot springs because people are naked there and it's really difficult to bring some guns or swords inside. And of course, that would make other people scared, and they started banning everyone with tattoos from visiting hot springs and then later pools and gyms or other places where people get naked. Of course, there are no more Yakuzas having the negotiations in hot springs on a daily basis. Probably somewhere there still are, I don't know. But there is a rule, and if you have tattoos, you cannot visit most of the hot springs and public pools or public gyms. And that doesn't make any sense, but no one even is thinking about changing this rule. Changing rules is really hard. Changing protocol is really hard. I once worked in a company where it took us almost half a year to change the shipping fee by 100 yen, which is less than $1. And of course, if you're following all these rules and protocols, it is very difficult to iterate quickly and to be really agile, to keep delivering value to your customers really quickly. So once again, not impossible to overcome, but takes a lot of work with leadership, takes a lot of reviewing of the rules and banning the rules that make no sense. And this is very painful, that comes at a price and just basically takes a lot of time. Number 5, status quo. In Japan, people strongly believe that if something is not broken, there is no reason to fix it. And because of that, we are still extensively using fax machines. Just because they work, they always worked, they're still around. And quite often, if you need to apply for certain services, you would need to use a fax machine. Gladly, we can easily access them in a lot of convenience stores, but still, fax machines, it's 2023. When I was registering my company, I had to buy a CDR drive and CDRs because I had to submit documents on a CDR. And my friend told me that up until recently, it used to be 3.5-inch discs. So this is how things are working. If something has been working so far, we are not going to change it unless we absolutely have to. And try experimenting and trying new approaches in this kind of environment. Of course, once again, it's not impossible, but we need to really change the mindset. We need to really shift our focus from keeping the status quo and doing things that always worked to maximizing the value delivery to the customers. Obstacle number 6, risk aversion. In most Western countries, if the probability of failure or success is roughly 50-50, a lot of the times they would go for it because there is still a very high probability of succeeding, and after all, even if we fail, it is considered to be a learning. In Japan, if the risk of failure is about 30%, this is still considered very high risk. So companies would usually go for new solutions and new projects only if they are almost guaranteed the success. And because of that, it is once again very difficult, very challenging to try out new things and to use approaches that no one has used before. And this is why a lot of companies are refusing to go agile because they are all waiting for a success case study in Japan to appear so that they can follow exact same steps and then be successful themselves as well. Overcoming risk aversion comes from establishing psychological safety about failures and reviewing how you see failures. So instead of seeing them as something bad, you would want to see failures as an opportunity for learning the approaches that don't work and thinking about new creative different solutions and keep moving forward. Number 7, PowerPoint. I don't know about you, I passionately dislike slides, not just PowerPoint, any kind of slides. When I do my trainings, I try to minimize using slides, and I usually only use pictures because I think sometimes I create the right effect, right impact, but I really hate showing text to people. And in Japanese organizations, maybe not only in Japan, I've seen it in other companies as well, but in Japan, people are particularly serious about their PowerPoints. So a lot of people spend the whole day making PowerPoint for the next meeting and then reviewing slides and then putting together the notes based on the previous meeting, sending it to that. And this is the only thing that they do, making PowerPoints. So I really encourage my teams when we start Agile transformation here in Japan to switch away from PowerPoints, use tools like Miro, use collaborative tools like Jira, and co-create the materials together only when we need to record some knowledge. But we try to get rid of all the slides that we prepare for meetings in order to flash in front of someone and make them capture a couple of concepts. That's a waste of time, and that's a waste of everyone's resources. Final obstacle on my list is dependency on vendors. Of course, this is again not unique to Japan, but in Japan this problem is very serious because most of the big companies would only have sort of project managers whose only job is to manage vendors, and they would be usually multiple layers of vendors, subcontractors and subcontractors of subcontractors. So that creates a cascade of mini waterfalls because you submit your requirements to a vendor, then there is a black box, there is some waiting time, and then in the end of the day they deliver to you something which might not respond to your needs and you need to redo it once again. So it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of extra communication. And due to the way the law is structured, the law around the subcontracting, it is often quite challenging to engage vendors in the project and treat them like a part of your team. A lot of times people would end up tolerate this series of mini waterfalls in the processes because of the dependency on vendors. So whenever we do Agile transformation here, we try to build the capabilities internally as much as we can, replace the vendors or engage the vendors as much as we possibly can in our processes so that they join the team's stand-ups and planning sessions and they report on a daily basis what they are building so that we can quickly review and adjust and reduce the amount of waterfall in our Agile. I hope you found this insightful. I wonder if there was anything surprising to you. Let me know if you have any questions or your own insights about Agile in Japan, about Japan or Agile in general, and I will see you in the next video.